Let's get going, man. So I know you got a lot of things to do, especially since you just got off the practice field. But I introduce you real quick. Brock Olivo. Brock is a special teams. Are you an analyst? Or are you a special teams assistant? Kind of
Assistant.
assistant
Hmm.
at the University of Missouri. And Brock and I go way back. We Brock, you were in the league as a special teams coordinator for what, 6 seasons?
Yeah, 6 seasons.
Yeah.
Yep.
You've been a head coach in Italy. You've been an assistant coach at pretty much all levels, with the exception of high school. And um, you people don't know, but you played for us at Missouri, and you set all kinds of records. And the thing that I still talk about you, Brock, I still talk about you. You were the example that you one of two examples that I consistently used with players in regards to work ethic and playing beyond what God gave you, and mental fortitude and offensive mindset and mental resilience and how to deal with adversity and everything that we're talking about on this program. And I'm trying to get coaches to really open up their minds. And um, you're a special person, very special man, and it showed on the field. And I've still to this day have not known anyone with your work ethic and your mental frame of mind and how you approach things, and that hasn't changed, has it?
No, it hasn't, and it could be a blessing and a curse at the same time. Case in point, my recent hernia surgery. But thank you for that, for
Yeah,
saying that. And Corby, I'd be remiss if I didn't begin this by expressing my debt of gratitude to your family,
yeah,
your father. I was one of the first households that he stepped foot into when he first got hired at Mizzou, and it was him and Curtis Jones. I know you remember Coach
hmm,
Jones,
very well.
who ended up being my running backs coach. But I'll never forget your dad and his presence, his aura when he walked through the door. I was ready to run through the wall that night for him, and he he brought a new standard to Mizzou that we needed back in that day, and it really it hit me hard that night when he talked about toughness and grit and work ethic and emotional consistency and all the things that make an elite player, at the college football level. And he said, this is what we have to do here. We need a cultural turnaround. And it's going to take these qualities. And so him being in my home that night, shaking my hand. By the way, his hands were huge, biggest
Yeah,
hands I've
oh, I
ever.
know.
It was amazing. Yeah, yeah. I know you
Massive.
know.
Yeah,
I know you know. But he changed me and my approach to this game, and I never forgot that. And that's what a coach does.
yeah,
Takes you places where you can't go on your own.
yeah.
And your dad was the epitome of that.
You talked about the culture shift when he first got there, and as a player, because I know that I mean, that still resonates in your mind about the type. And you were like you said, I mean, you were one of the first guys that he brought in that was his own, and that culture had to change. I mean, they hadn't won in 13 years,
Right.
and what do you remember that you've carried on as a coach, as a father, just as a man? What have you implemented? What have you really held on to in regards to the way that he built that culture and the way that you built that culture, and
Hmm.
everybody else, Brian Craycraft and Corby Jones and Mike Morris, and
Yeah.
go on, Steve Haig
Yeah.
and
Devin
everybody,
West. Yep.
Devin West,
Yep.
Ron
Yep.
James, Ernest
Yes.
Blackwell. I mean,
Thank
we
you. Yeah.
on and on. Harold Piercy,
Mm-hmm.
all those guys.
All those
Um,
guys. Yeah.
what were the things that you guys really just took to heart and said, "This is the way it's going to be around here"?
Yeah. So first of all, the one thing that your dad brought up, the first thing that he brought up, Corby, that he needed to instill here at Mizzou was toughness. Toughness, like a tough brand of football. And what that did, like setting that tone, first of all, he changed the entire philosophy, right? Like we came in and I think, they were like 10 personnel, four wides here, right?
Right.
Huge splits. Like they were running gun, man. And it was kind of a dink and dunk operation, throwing the ball around, and offensive linemen were just big, stiff dudes, who could just pass protect, right? And so he was like, all right, boys, we're going to line up at 21P, right? We're
Mhm.
going to have a true fullback, and we're going to run it down their throats. Like we're going to establish toughness here. And by doing that, he he inherently, right, created a brotherhood, like a bond, like because you know it is like the tougher the challenge, and the tougher the circumstances, the more binding that is, the more galvanizing that is for a group of people. Like when you go through a tough thing together, it's going to make you a tighter group.
Yeah.
And that's what happened to us that first Wentworth, the first training camp. It was a wake up call for those guys who were here, the upperclassmen. For us as freshmen, that first class, it was an indoctrination
Yeah.
into the world of big time tough football. Like this is what it should feel like. It should be a grind. Like you should be sore. Your neck should be sore. Like it's going to be hot. There's 2 days. The facilities are trash. We were at that Wentworth Military
Military
Academy.
academy. Yeah.
It was the most Spartan place I've ever been to. Right. The, I mean, I don't even think we had air conditioning. I don't know
No.
if we did. I can't
No.
remember. But I just know it was grim and Spartan. But he naturally created a brotherhood, Corby, like a tight knit group. And from there, we just the thing kept rolling, and we started getting more confidence. Uh, and then you splice in the Dave Tobe effect,
Yeah.
right? In that weight room, like the stars aligned here. Your dad, his vision, his approach, together with Tobe, and Tobe was avant-garde, man. He really was.
Yeah.
He had us on the forefront, and we were a strong football team. I never felt, Corby, especially like in year 2 and 3, like I never felt like we were like quote unquote out outmanned, like
Yeah.
to a man. Now, teams may have been faster, they may have been a little bit bigger, but like in a one-on-one situation, like I never felt that we were like dominated physically,
Yeah.
and that was the Tobe thing, and that was the your dad's toughness and philosophy and his grittiness that he applied to us. And so it was his toughness. Okay. It was then the forging of that brotherhood, that tight knit group. And then after that came confidence.
Right.
And then once we got confident, then your dad was allowed to sort of quote unquote turn us loose and really capitalize on our talents, because recruiting got better too. You know, you got the Corbys and the Devin Wests,
Right.
the Rob Reedys, right? Some great players on defense, and your dad's big focus was we got to keep the good players in state, because Mizzou did a terrible job of that
Yeah.
before he got here. All
Yeah.
the good guys were leaving and going to the neighboring schools, and you can't blame them
No.
because the
Especially in
program.
your area where you grew up, in that St.
Yeah,
Louis
yeah,
area. I
St.
mean,
Louis, man. I mean,
they were
nobody
just.
nobody from St. Louis ever came to Mizzou. The only person who did back in the '80s was a guy named Tony Van Zandt, who was a big
Mhm.
time recruit, but he unfortunately hurt his knee and never got to blossom like he would have. But apart from that, yeah, Mizzou dropped the ball in St. Louis for many years,
Yeah.
and so that was a big challenge for your dad coming in, was trying to reel in St. Louis and get St. Louis back on board with Mizzou football, and then identify talent throughout the state of Missouri,
Right.
like the Justin Smiths of the world,
Right.
right? The Mike Morrises, the Todd Niemeyers, like going up to Brookfield, Missouri off Highway 36, where like it's like, like nobody knows where that
Nobody.
place is.
No.
Nobody. It's in the
But
middle of
we
nowhere. And
all do.
he
Yeah.
got three Division I dudes out of that tiny town of less than whatever it was, 4,000 people. I don't know.
Well,
But
And Moberly is another one.
yeah,
Like
Moberly,
who's
yeah,
Senator
where Devin came
Moberly?
from.
Right.
Yeah, where the heck's Moberly, Missouri? Oh, so he he did that, and that was a result of the you know the effect that he had on the program early on, and some showing some signs of success. And the program was in ascension, and so recruiting got better too. And then then the thing just kind of starts snowballing and feeding itself. And but but it started with toughness. It started with toughness.
No. There's no. I mean, and I most people don't know. People know who Dave Tobe is, but people don't know that he started out as the he was the strength and conditioning coordinator,
Exactly.
and
Yep.
up until Curtis Jones, you talk about Curtis, passed away in July, and had to do something. So uh, my dad elevated Tobe to defensive line coach, and because at the time
Yeah.
that's what Curtis was coaching. But um, yeah, no, it was all the way around. What's funny is I saw somebody that played that. I can't remember who it was, but just recently, like I don't get on Facebook that much, but like 2 weeks ago, someone or 3 weeks ago, someone posted something, and it was about the 1996 season, and it was about 25 minutes long. It was like on YouTube, and it was funny because they interviewed all you guys. They must have interviewed a dozen players. Every single player, every single one spoke the same language. They said it differently, but they spoke the same language. I mean, you remember what it's like to be 18, 19, 20, 21 years old. Like that
Right.
doesn't just happen,
No.
And so to me, it was like this profound just aha moment for me. It's like that's what was different back then. You
Yeah.
know, and that's what the other thing I don't think a lot of people understand is that, okay, so offensively, we were going to run the ball downhill. We were going to play action. We're going to run gap schemes, ISO, option, all kinds of different option. But what that did, that toughness made our defense tougher. We had to practice against it every day, right?
Correct.
And so
Yep.
that culture of toughness goes from the type of kids that you recruit, where they're from, and then the weight room to the field to outside the field. Because I don't remember a whole lot of off the field issues with anybody. There was one here or there, but they're just because you
Right.
guys policed yourself,
Right.
right? And let me ask you about, and I appreciate that because this whole thing's really about culture and for coaches to really understand. I want to ask you about leadership, but before I do that, I want to ask you. I think there's a lot of high school coaches that don't put the emphasis on special teams like it needs to be, and I still, again, as an example, I mean, you were a guy that you got your jersey retired for a reason, and you were on every single special teams as a starting tailback at a Division I Big 12 school at anytime you could. And
Yeah.
and if someone went down and you weren't starting, you're like, I'll do it. I remember it. From a mentality standpoint, how do you, in a special teams coordinator, how do you get starters? How do you get the best athletes to buy into special teams to help the team?
Yeah. Absolutely. Corby, I think, okay, so through my experience as a coach now, the recipe for success there begins with the head coach.
Yeah,
Period. Period. Because if the head coach stands in front of the team and says, hey, special teams is a team responsibility that we're all involved in, everybody with the exception of maybe the quarterbacks, okay? Those guys will leave them out. But everybody else is involved, has some role on this team and special teams. And guess what? If we want to be really good, elite as a team, our starters on defense and offense are going to have to take responsibility and play one more down.
Right.
Like one more down. Like, hey, starting corners. Guess what? It's one more down. It's fourth down. And it's just as important as the first three, right? We got to get the ball back. We need field position. Nobody does it better than you, right? So give the guys ownership, give them the green light. And then another thing, Corby, coming from the head coach, I mean, and then another thing is really emphasize this fact. If you really want to play in the NFL, if you really want to play on Sundays, right? The reality is there maybe one guy in each room that's a bona fide in each, team
Right. Right.
team's team meeting room, right? That's a bona fide first round draft choice, but not even. Not even. Most teams, don't even have that, right? There are only
Right.
32 first round draft choices.
Right.
So most
Absolutely.
teams in the country don't even have that guy. So guess what? If you think you're going to make a roster, play in the NFL, and be one of the 40, you know, 46 guys active on game day, your butt's going to be playing special teams on Sunday. So you need film, and you need film of you dominating on special teams,
Yeah.
period. So it's twofold. It's going to help your team win here in college, and it's going to help your career at the next level. So,
Yeah.
but that's got to come from the head coach. It has to. If the head coach just washes his hands of special teams and says, hey, special teams coordinator, do what you can with what I give you, with who I give you permission to use, right? You know how a lot of guys do it?
Uh-huh.
That's when disasters happen on fourth down. That's when disasters happen on kickoff and kickoff return. Your dad, I'll never forget this, because when I was in high school, I had a coach, old school coach, who made us starters play special teams,
Good.
right? And shit, Corby, in 2 years, I think we only lost two games. Like, we won the state championship. We were undefeated. Like, there's a reason he's a Hall of Fame coach. When I got here, I remember the first team meeting, your dad said, and I'll tell you this, any of you starters, any of you starters who think you're not playing on special teams, or no, he called it the kicking game. He said,
Yeah.
any of you starters who think you're not playing in the kicking game, you think you're above that? Well, I got news for you. That shit stops now. I'll never forget that.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay,
Yeah.
okay. The guys were looking around like, shit,
Yep.
this is gonna get real. So anyway, to me, it comes from the head coach. If you get a head coach who stands up there in front of the team and emphasizes that it's a team responsibility, not only does he help whoever's coaching on special teams, but he also lights a fire in those guys. And I would begin it at the high school level too. I say, hey, dude, you guys think you're going to make an impact as a freshman in college? Not if you're not playing on special teams.
Yep.
The majority of you, you're not.
Well, I think, and that the reason I ask is I think there's a lot of, well, I know there's a lot of high school coaches that listen to this and a lot of head coaches. And I know for me as a head high school coach, that was the most important thing to me. Um, I think a lot of head coaches, they say it's important, but then they don't give it the time on a daily basis to implement the schemes and make sure that you got the right players in the right spots, because that's as crucial as anything else. I mean, it's just not, you got an ass buster that is at L2 on kickoff, and it's like, or two on kickoff, and it's like, no, that's not where he should be, or
Yeah.
um, so
Yeah.
I think it needs to be at the forefront. And I know you agree with that. I just remember when I was at Missouri, we were always trying to get T-shirts and all this kind of stuff and have these little sayings. But the bottom line is setting that precedence as a head coach. And I can tell you this, Brock, the quarterback thing. When I was at SC, my first year I was a third string quarterback. Second year I was a second string quarterback, and I went in to the special teams coordinator, Bobby April at the time,
Oh yeah, sure.
Um,
I remember Bobby April.
yeah, and I said, Coach, I said, I want to get on the field. Like he's like, you're the backup quarterback. Like you can't get hurt. I said, I don't care. I want to play. I want to get on the field. And he's like, he goes, okay. He goes, I'm not doing it. Go talk to Coach Dorr. Ray Dorr was my quarterback's coach. Go talk to Coach Dorr. So I go into Coach Dorr. I said, Coach, I know I'm the backup quarterback, but I want to get on the field. I want to talk to Coach April. He said for me to talk to you. Can I be on special teams? And he kind of rolled his eyes and he's like, yeah, just don't get hurt. And I was like, I won't, Coach. And he goes, and I'm not making the final decision. You need to go talk to the head coach. So I go into the head coach's office. Dad. That's what I said. Dad. I may have called him Coach. They said, Coach, I've talked to Coach Dorr. I've talked to Coach April. I want to play on special teams. And they told me to come talk to you. And my dad goes, Corby, he goes, I don't give a shit. Just don't get hurt. And so next thing I know, I was on punt and I was on kickoff return and a couple games on kickoff. But it was I just wanted to get on the field. I was mentally as a quarterback, I still had the mentality of a defensive player,
Yeah.
and I just liked feeling pain. It was
Yeah.
stupid. I mean,
Yeah.
you're the
Oh
epitome
yeah,
of that.
sure. Yeah. No, I mean it's an exciting phase of the
Yeah.
game if you think about it. Like no other phase you know utilizes the entire field like special teams. So you're talking about different angles, different speeds. Um, it's refreshing, to
Yeah.
play on special teams because it's something new. It's entirely different from offense and defense. So I liked it. Despite being the starting running back, like I liked having to switch my mindset and be like,
Yeah.
okay, shit, okay, now I'm playing out punt. Okay, now I got to kick, slide, protect, and then cover, or I got to run down, use my hands, two gap on kickoff, or avoid in space, like tackle, like holy cow. Because I knew, number one, the the more starters we had on the field on fourth down or on the kickoff and kickoff return, the better we were going to be as a team. And I knew that that was going to help me later on down the road if I wanted to
Right.
play in the NFL. Like I just knew that. But I wanted to get the most out of my ability and I saw guys, Corby, early on here, at Mizzou, like turning it down on
Mm-hmm.
special teams, because I remember a lot of times your dad had to have some, like come to Jesus
Talks
conversations
with
with us
yeah.
about, hey, we need to up the level of play on special teams, and that was the beginning of my second year, my sophomore year, and that's when I started like, okay, I'm playing on teams, man. I don't care. I got to do it. I want to do that.
Yeah.
And then I remember my junior and senior year, like Rhino wanted to get on kickoff, Rhino wanted to get on
Yep.
punt, like Shad Chris didn't want to come off the field on fourth down. Like it became a thing,
Shoot,
Point,
Ernest Blackwell wanted to be on punt.
correct. He
I
did want to
know.
be on punt. Remember?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the kind of stuff that happened, and it's because we wanted ownership in it, man, and
Yeah.
it makes your team better, and high school coaches have to emphasize that to their players, and hopefully that that core group of leaders within each team will own that, take ownership in special teams,
Right.
and so
And this doesn't just have to be as a head coach's perspective, since you were a head coach in Italy, and because I mean, a coach is a coach, right? And all coaches are leaders in their own respect, but um, you're you have a pretty your moral conviction arrow, to me, has never wavered. And um, what do you feel like from a personal ethos standpoint? How does your personal ethos and that moral conviction drive your coaching philosophy?
so as a as a coach's son,
Right.
And I'll reflect back on my, my upbringing before I met, obviously, your dad, and embarked on my collegiate and professional career. But like, as a coach's son, I was kind of raised probably a lot similar to you, Corby, like team first,
Hmm.
unselfishness, right? Be the first to get there, the last to leave, outwork everybody, period. Like, if you do that, if you do those simple things, and if you're a good, if you're a good teammate or a good person, if you treat people well, right? Everything else will take care of itself. Everything else will take care of itself. So, my dad brought me a poster home when I was in junior high, and because I'd lost a race, a foot race, and I was down, and I was like, why, Dad? Why? Because I was kind of a late bloomer, Corby, and so I got beat by
Yeah.
this guy who, he's like one of those dudes that he had like pubes in like the fourth grade,
Yeah. Right.
those dudes, right? He had like a beard going in,
Right.
in eighth grade, and beats me in a race. And my dad brings home a poster the next day, and he puts it on my wall, and the poster read, "When you're not training, someone somewhere is.
That's powerful.
And when you meet them, they will win." Right? And he put that on my wall, and that lit a fire in me. Well, for Christmas, I got weights. That's all I care. I mean,
Right.
that started it for me. Started lifting weights going into my freshman year, and then everything changed for me, man. So, how does that tie into my coaching philosophy? First of all, treat your players with respect, but under that respect, in my opinion, involves getting the most out of them. And they may not always like what you have to say to them, but it's your job as a coach, and it's his job as a player to make that rapport work. And the only way that rapport works is if you're challenging him and he's responding to the challenge.
Yeah.
Okay, he's not turning it away. He's not sensitive. He's not getting offended. It's not personal. Okay, it's about growth from both a coaching perspective and a player's perspective. Treat the guys with respect, but challenge them. Okay, I challenge my guys with that saying all the time, every year. When you're not training, someone somewhere is. And when you meet them, they will win. Period. So, Corby, as a player, when I went onto the field, both here at Mizzou and in the NFL, I knew no matter who I was going against, because you're talking about 11 one-on-one battles, essentially, right? In,
Right.
in, in any given play. I knew whoever I had to go against, that I had outworked him.
Yeah.
I knew that I had more invested, and I knew it. And so that, to me, was that was everything, because I knew I was going to beat him. I was not going to let him beat me
Right.
because he did not earn it.
It's good.
So that's what I want my players to take onto the field with them. I don't ever want them to have a doubt that whoever they're going against, right? You've outworked him, man. Like, you put in more blood, sweat, and tears. So he can't beat you. He
Right.
just can't, because you won't allow it. You won't allow it. When you have that much invested, right? There's a pride, there's an internal pride that won't allow you to accept defeat. You just won't. Now, are you going to come up against an Adonis every once in a while who's a
Absolutely.
freak? Yeah, you are. You are. Are you going to take a wrong step? Yeah, you are. You're going to have bad hand placement, take a bad angle? Yeah, you are. But it ain't going to be for lack of effort.
No.
That's for
Yeah.
sure.
It's funny because they get talk to a lot of coaches still. Coaches will call me, reach out, and be like, Coach, we're competing every day and we're doing this, and our kids, we just still having a hard time, fighting off adversity and being mentally resilient. And I'm like, okay. And I've, read a lot, done a lot of research, talked to a lot of people. And what I've found, two things. The first thing is the competition is necessary, right? But the question really is, are you stacking your days? And what I mean by that is when you build a brick house, you build it brick by brick. You have to keep stacking the brick, right? And
Yep.
so if you're
Yep.
competing, like I tell them, if you're competing Monday and Wednesday and then play Friday, that's not enough. You have to stack those days. You got to compete against each other somehow, some way. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So when they go out
Yep.
Friday, it's like, well, my dad used to always say, if you're going to fight in the North Atlantic, you got to train in the North Atlantic. Yeah, you remember that one. Yeah. Um,
I use that one all the time.
I know, so do I. But and then the other thing on top of stacking your days is, I used to use the term when I was coaching. You got to be motivated. You got to be that in my mind has complete. That's frivolous to me because motivation is fleeting. You can find every reason you can be motivated, and something comes out of right field, something comes out of left field, and that motivation disperses. Dedication is when it doesn't matter what's going around. You don't have to be motivated. I mean, listen, and I know you do the same, but every single day, my body hurts. It's one thing after another. I can't feel these three fingers. My this arm's numb, my back hurts, my legs hurt, just something because of age.
Yep.
But every
Right.
day, I don't even think twice about the fact that I go to the gym.
Right.
That I eat the way that I eat. It's
Right.
daily, and you know, it's not something that wavers. It's not, I have to be motivated today to do this. No, because I'm
Right.
dedicated. So the
Yeah.
foundation's been,
Right.
built. And
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of confusion with, like, I think it's great. I mean, as well as I do, the competition needs to happen, but it has to be all the time, even
Yep.
if it's competing against yourself in the weight room.
No doubt. No doubt, Corby. And I think the thing that distinguishes football from every other sport, football is particular in this case, because if you think about it, baseball, basketball, soccer, you name it, on down the line, volleyball, they play so many games, right, during their season, like three and four times the amount of games that that
Right.
football
Football.
plays, right? So they can conceivably get better by playing, right?
Absolutely.
Like they get better playing in games. Whereas in football, you just get one shot every week. So if you're not competing every day, if you're not practicing your ass off every day, right, you don't get better playing in football games
No.
because it's such a complex, physical, violent game. Like you have to do all that work leading up to game time, and then game time is just that's let it rip. That's like muscle memory, response.
Mhm.
Reactive. Like
Yep.
that's what that is. But like if you're not competing on a daily basis, like in football, you have to get better in practice. Period.
Right.
That's the only time you're going to get better.
Yeah.
Where all the other sports, you're playing so many games that you
You
can
get
use
better.
games essentially as a platform to improve, right? So that yeah, to your point, you have to create competition on a daily basis. Practice is so important, man.
Yeah.
You know,
Last question I have for you, Bragg. I know you got things
yes,
to do, but
yeah,
really quick, when you identify leaders, which I think good coaches do every single day, every single practice, every single session in the weight room, everything. Um,
yep,
when you identify leaders, what are some qualities that you find are most important that all leaders possess?
yeah. So it's actions, right? Way, way, way above
Talking.
vocalness
Yeah.
for me. So it's and you know what, leaders can come in all different forms, as you know well, full well, Corby. But like, say you got a group of players, right? And there's the kid standing right in the group who, isn't saying much, but he's got this stoic look on his face and this, this drive, this determination. So you can see it in a kid's eyes, right? You can see who has it and who doesn't just by looking at him. I can now, and I know you can too. But then when it's time to get to work in the weight room, in conditioning or in practice, right? You can see the guys who who don't miss a step. Like they're they're running between drills, they're playing at 100%. They don't wince on contact. Like the guys who embody, right, the ideal leader, in my opinion, are the guys who put it to action on the field or in whatever context they're in, right? And then you have the guys, the special guys who can do that, and on top of that, have the ability to communicate, right? And to rally the troops, right?
Right.
When they speak, people listen to them. And the only way you get that credibility is if your ass is doing it, right? When it's called upon in the weight room, on the practice field, in games. So that special combination of both, right, is obviously, we idealize that, and that's the archetype, right, that
Right.
we're all looking for. But and then you've got the guys who are the false leaders, like the guys who are chirping all the time, but then when you turn on the tape or you go into the weight room or you see them in summer conditioning, they're not at the front of the pack. They're not selling out, right? So you got to do a good job of kind of like identifying
Right.
those traits.
Right.
Yep. And then I think we as coaches then can encourage leaders, to step up, to take the reign, because a lot of times these kids don't know how powerful
Right.
their voice is. They
Yes.
don't know it because they don't maybe have the confidence, or they just, they've never been thrust into that role. So I think it's up to us to recognize it, the trait, and then encourage them to, hey man, take the reins,
Right.
because they will follow you.
Yeah. No, that's great. Well, hey, listen, man, I can't tell you how much I've enjoyed this. It's been a long time since I've seen you. And,
Yeah,
um,
me too.
I still remember, I still tell people about when you used to come over and watch the dogs and house sit. Remember that?
Dude, those are some of my best days. Like, are you kidding me? A poor college kid, like, who could go stay in this awesome, huge ass house. It was the air conditioning actually
Yeah.
worked.
Yeah.
There was food in the pantry, and all I had to do was feed the dog and let him out. Are you kidding me?
Yeah. No, that was
I mean, that was
awesome.
a dream come true, brother. I had the time of my life, man.
Well, listen, I know
Corby,
yeah, go ahead.
yeah. I was gonna say, I get emotional thinking about it, but I owe a debt of gratitude to you and your family. I love you guys, and your your dad.
I got you. Yeah, I know. Yep. Well, we love you, man, and can't tell you how important you've been to our family. So thank you.
Appreciate you
And thank
guys.
you for the man you were for my father too. I I'm proud of
It was
you,
an
and
honor.
I know he's proud of you. So all
It
right,
was an honor.
yeah. Just hang on a sec, Brock. I'm gonna turn this off, but just hang on a sec.
Yep.